Hello, my legendary friends. This is Legends and Losers, the show for people who want to create, design, and dominate in their lives, their business, and the world. Hosted by three-time former CMO, category designer, and co-author of Play Bigger, Christopher Lochhead, with Colin Vincent, master photographer and co-founder of Equity Directory. And now, strap yourselves in. It's time for Legends and Losers.
All right. Well, welcome to Legends and Losers. Hey, Colin, what did Joey Ramone say?
Hey ho, let's go.
So here we go. Tell everybody what we got on the show today, Colin.
We have a very special guest today named Adam Honig, who is the founder and CEO of Spiro, which is an awesome sales tool for awesome salespeople.
Yes, and Adam and I have known each other for the better part of 20 years, and he is trying to redesign one of the biggest categories in information technology, Salesforce automation and customer relationship management.
Yeah, he's been at this for a few years now, and he's launched quite a product.
Yeah, he's a multi-time entrepreneur, and I knew him when he was very young and going public in his 20s. With a company called Open Environment Corporation. Was a great success until it wasn't. And he's going to tell us a little bit about that and what a path he's had as an entrepreneur.
Well, he's also been an incredible growth hacker. I've got to give him that, and we'll dig into that a little bit as well.
Adam is our very first entrepreneur. I'm privileged to be an advisor and investor in his company as well. And Colin, you've known him for a long time. And are we ready for Adam Honig?
Let's bring him on.
All right, here we go. Adam Honig, welcome to Legends and Losers. How are you?
Hey, Chris. I'm excellent. How are you?
I'm fantastic. We are stoked to have you. You were certainly my first choice to be the first entrepreneur on our show. And just so everyone knows why, Adam and I have been friends for the better part of 25 years. And I think he's a legendary entrepreneur. And I just thought it would be fun to have a dear old friend where we worked together early in our business lives, and we sort of stayed in touch, but not deeply. And then we've come back in touch over the last couple of years. So I thought you'd be a great entrepreneur, and we are stoked to have you.
Thanks, Chris. I'm actually one of the few people who know you when you had hair. So that's, how far back that goes.
Well, yeah. And just like Putin has shit on Trump, you got some bad hair photos of me. So I got to,
exactly
do what you tell me to.
Yeah, no, I'm really excited to be on the show. I mean, it's been great working together over these past couple of years on Spiro, and of course, seeing you go everything through all of your different companies and having great success. It's been a big inspiration for me as well.
Well, I'm glad. There's a lot of losery that has happened over the last 30 years. I'm glad the legendness, if that's probably not a word, but wasn't overshadowed by all my losing. But thank you.
I think people remember the good things better. It's like we all remember the good things and the successes, and we're like, oh, what about that time we dropped $50 million into the Bay? Oh, yeah, we don't think about that one too much, whatever. So
it's funny, I have an ex-wife, which is something I never thought I'd have, and happily to report we're on great terms. But I remember years ago saying, her name's Christine. I remember saying to her, Christine, do we fight a lot, particularly at the end? And she says, yeah. And I said, do you remember what we fought about? And she says, no. And I said, neither do I. So I think, memory's a funny thing, right? I think you're right. We tend to remember more of the good than the bad.
Well, I was with one of our investors this morning, and we were talking about just how exciting everything is with the business and where things are going and stuff like that. And I was my normal kind of really optimistic self. And then I just had a moment of reflection where I was like, I think I'm always this way. It doesn't matter what's going on. It's always up and to the right, and it's just like, if you want to be in this business of starting companies and being an entrepreneur, you always see the path. You're like, that's okay. We can do this.
It's like, it's like insane optimism, right?
Exactly. Beyond all reason. Yes. Beyond
all reason. One of the expressions I love about this, you have to be stupid enough to think it's possible.
Yeah. Well, I know going back to Open Environment, the first company that I was a founder of that you helped us with a lot.
And so people know, just to take it, how old were you when you co-founded Open Environment Corporation?
I think 24, 25, something like that. Yeah.
And you were a very recent college graduate at the time, yes?
Yes, I had my degree in philosophy behind me, which is how, I got involved with the whole thing, because I was actually the guy who could speak in full sentences on the team. Everybody else was engineering. And so they were like, you can talk. Why don't you go into sales?
You should be the sales guy, right?
Exactly. But what John used to say was that we started the company because we didn't know any better. Like, we didn't know it was impossible to do what we were trying to do.
Right.
So that's how we did. We were like, yeah, fuck it. We'll just go ahead and try it. Like, whatever, like, what do we have to lose?
And so here you are, 24 years old, fresh out of school with a degree that prepared you perfectly to be an entrepreneur and to be a head of sales. And 24 years old, starting this company with legendary John Donovan. Do you want to give us 2 seconds on John?
Well, I mean, all I can say about John was that, that movie, The Horrible Bosses? Well, it was loosely based on his life story, except that he was the Jennifer Aniston character in some strange doppelganger effect. John, about one point, fired our HR leader because she was too fat. And he told her that. It's just like, come on.
Isn't that perfectly acceptable? You say, hey, listen, you're kind of fat. You need to go. Yeah, not so much.
He's a crazy, brilliant, visionary dude who just, if he felt the need to change, in first class, he would just do it in the aisle, right down to his boxer shorts. Didn't matter,
So you helped this crazy man start a company, and then what happens?
Well, so it was really interesting. We were in what is now known as the middleware software business, right? So in the 90s, we helped companies that were building applications that connected PCs to mainframes. And we didn't know what it was called. We didn't know middleware or anything like that. We just knew that there was that need for it. And so we built, the first version of the product, which was probably the worst piece of software engineering that was ever developed by man. And it was my job to go sell it.
And so, today, of course, with lean startup and people talking about minimum viable product, and I think it's Colin, correct us if we're wrong, but is it Reed Hastings who said you should be embarrassed by your first product?
Well, not only that, if you're not embarrassed, you've waited too long.
Yeah.
Right. Well,
so were you embarrassed enough that you clearly didn't wait too long? Is that what you're saying?
This was like, we would go in and we would go do a demo of the software to Hewlett Packard. And as we were going in, we were trying to figure out what data would be coming back from their mainframes just in case the software didn't work. And I remember, because we did this demo for the head of sales of HP. I don't even remember the guy's name back in the 90s. And we're like doing the demo, and the shit is not working. So we have a backup button, which, basically pulls in all the data that we thought should be there.
Yeah.
Basically a bunch of random numbers. And all these numbers come up on the screen. And he was, whoa, what is this? What are these numbers? That can't be right. And I was like, I looked at this dude, I was petrified, and I said, this is your data. You tell me what it means. And he was like, I bet it's not including the Japanese subsidiary and blah, 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 and came up with this whole cockamamie rationalization for what the fuck this made up data that we were showing was. And at that point, I knew I was going to be in sales. So that was like the moment for me. And I was like, okay, we can sell this thing.
How old were you at the time, Adam?
I don't know. I was probably 26 then.
Yeah. So the polite word, I think, for that is you had a lot of swagger at 26. Is that
yes.
Very, as you know, our book, Play Bigger, the subtitle is How Pirates, Dreamers, and Innovators Create and Dominate Markets. So sounds very piratey of you. Yes.
We were not going to let little things like the truth get in our way of showing the value of our product. So we built up a pretty good sized business with that model, Chris. We did a lot of consulting to go with it, and the consulting is sort of a polite word in the enterprise software space for our software doesn't actually work, so we're going to go and do consulting to help you with it. And that
70% of your revenue seems to be professional services. What's up with that?
Well, it's all right. People bought the software and we improved it over time. We hired engineers who actually knew how to build products. And
the products in the end actually ended up being quite remarkable, did they not?
Yeah, no, the product was amazing. And, it was the kind of thing where it big companies at the time had all of their data stuck in mainframes and they couldn't get it out. And to just be able to get that data out was a big win for companies to give their workers more information. So yeah, it turned out great.
And you guys had a lot of success. You took the company public. How old were you when you did the IPO?
I think I was like 29 at that point, and I had run sales. So I was the first sales guy. I, hired the first sales team. I was eventually the VP of sales, and we made such a great move that we hired the CEO of one of our customers. I don't know if you remember, Chris.
I do.
Our CEO, a gentleman by the name of
the CEO of Best Buy, or it was a CEO of a big retail.
He
was CEO of CompUSA, which at the time was like the nation's largest computer retailer, a multi-billion-dollar company, publicly traded. And we were a bunch of assholes, 28 years old, and we were like, we need some old guy.
Like a great background.
He's probably younger than me now. At the time, he's probably younger than I am. But
he
whatever.
He looked really old to us at the time, didn't he? It's like, wow, he's fucking old.
He was old. He was an old dude, and so Nathan took us public, and then I ran sales, and I had been. So I traveled literally like 4 days a week for 5 years. And I'm talking like Monday I was in Cleveland, Tuesday I was in Chicago, Wednesday I was in Dallas, and someplace else before coming home. And I did that for like 4 years. It was like I was in the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy in my mind of middleware deals, just flying all around doing crazy shit. And after we went public, I was like, okay, it's time to hire somebody else to come in and run sales.
Yeah, how did that work out, Adam?
Yeah, well, it was awesome. It was awesome for me. I was like, okay, I took, founded this company, took it public. I had some money in the bank. I had a bunch of stock. It was worth a good amount of money. I was like, I'm going to do that thing, Chris, that I never did after school, which is I'm going to go to Europe for 2 months, right? Because like I didn't do that shit. I was like, okay, I got to go get a job and stuff like that. So I went to Europe for 2 months. And I get back. The very day I get back, my dad picks me up at the airport. And he says to me, picks me up, doesn't say hi. I haven't seen him for 2 months. He says, what the fuck happened to your stock? And I was like, and this was before the internet. You could like get all this information. You had to like look it up.
So, and help people understand what was, and if you don't want to divulge it, of course, fine. But roughly, what was your net worth? Not just at the run up of the IPO, but when you headed off to Europe and you looked at the value of your stock at OEC, what roughly was it worth?
Yeah, it was worth about $10 million.
Yeah. So it was a hell of a start for a 27, 28-year-old guy. Right?
I was feeling pretty good about it. I was feeling like, well, this would be a good way to go, do this a couple times and then whatever.
Yeah.
And then, unfortunately, it didn't work out that way.
So tell us what happened.
Well, so unfortunately, the very first quarter that I wasn't running sales, we fucking missed the number. And
when you're a newly public company and you fucking miss the number, what happens to your stock?
Well, our market cap went down by about 75%.
Yeah.
Which was bad. I mean, not only was it bad for me, but like I just want to let you know that like every uncle and brother and cousin and distant relative had bought in at the IPO, and we were like way below the IPO price. Everybody was underwater. All the new shares that I had been.
So you're the asshole at Thanksgiving now, right?
Every fucking bar mitzvah I go to for the rest of my life, people are going to be like, "Oh, I still have that share." Yeah. I'm sorry.
So then, how did the movie end at OEC? So the company craters, you come back, then help us with what happened.
Well, so we wound up. I wound up coming back to the company. I wasn't planning on coming back to the company, but I came back to the company, and we managed to sell it. We replaced Nathan, stepped down. I took over as president, and we wound up selling the company for about $100 million to a software company called Borland International. But this is not the end of the story.
No.
Because for those of you who don't know Borland, they were a big software company at the time. They were run by a legendary entrepreneur called Philippe Kahn, who was a legal immigrant when he started.
Illegal or legal?
No, illegal. I don't
illegal.
think he. Yeah. And so built this big software company, publicly traded, agreed to buy us in a stock swap for $100 million. And he had subsequently stepped down as CEO.
Which on paper doesn't look like a bad outcome. But what was your market cap at the height?
So it was 300 million.
300.
Yes.
Okay.
So we were at 300, when I got off the plane from Europe, we were at 50, and then we brought it back up to 100 in a stock deal. with this company, Borland.
So now you're really praying for Borland.
So they signed the deal to buy the company. And what happens is that they fire their CEO after they signed a definitive agreement to merge with my company. The board is like, "You're fucking kidding me. You're out of here." And then the board of
Let me guess, their stock went up 100% when they fired the CEO for buying your company.
Well, they also appointed a retired Stanford professor as their interim CEO. And he promptly went to safari in Africa for a month after getting appointed CEO.
As you do.
So it was a shit show.
And so the movie ends badly. And so now post Borland, how old are you? Are you in your early 30s at that point? 55, yeah, exactly. In technology entrepreneur years.
No, I think I'm still 30 or something.
You're
like
still
that.
30. And so here you are, 30 years old. On paper at one point, you're worth, millions of dollars. And the thing almost goes away and you do a diving catch, but then so here you are. Now what?
Well, after that, I started another company, a consulting company actually, I had another consulting company that didn't work out for other various sundry reasons. But then I started.
So at that point, you're a two-term loser.
Well, exactly. Well,
just to put a fine point on it.
So yeah, whatever. I still have all my hair. I just want to point that out right now.
And listen, you're normally I think hair on men is really quite ridiculous, but wouldn't you say, Colin, that Adam has very excellent hair?
I'd say compared to you, almost anyone has excellent hair.
So, Chris, one of the things that you might remember is that after we sold Open Environment, like the whole engineering team took off, and they all went to this company called Scopus. And Scopus, right around the time that I was setting up my third company, got bought by this company called Siebel. And suddenly I knew all of these guys at Siebel Systems. And so I set up a consulting company to go partner with Siebel and implement their software. And I met with you, Chris, right around that time because you were working with Vantiv. And you gave me
you didn't decide to partner with us, you bastard.
You gave me the best advice ever. I remember I met with you and you were like, those guys at Siebel, they're evil and they're ugly and they'll do anything. And I was like, yeah.
Those are my guys.
So I was like, okay, I'm going to go work with them. So at any rate, but you left Vantiv right around that time anyway, so it wouldn't have been any fun.
Well, I knew we were getting our ass handed to us by Siebel. It's one of my very early experiences with the power of a category king, right? As a new category emerges and the king emerges, if you happen to be not with the king, life gets bad really fast.
Yep. Yeah,
and you did what smart people did, which is you essentially hopped into what ultimately became the Category Kings ecosystem, right?
Yep. And I think we were like the fourth or fifth partner that they had worldwide. It was like Accenture, Deloitte, PwC, and us kind of thing.
and what was the name of that company for our?
That company became known as Innovir Solutions.
Innovir.
Yeah.
And you had a great run at Innovir, didn't you? I mean, you guys were one of the top independent CRM implementation and consulting companies.
We did. We built that up to about 150 guys. Along the way, we transitioned it over to being one of the largest Salesforce partners. I think we were the number 8th largest Salesforce partner when we sold the business to the number 7 biggest guy, and we became the number 4 in that classic consolidation move. I love that. So that was a lot of. How
long was the Innovir run?
It was about a fucking long time. I don't know. So we started the company in 98 and we sold it in 2014. Or what year is it? Yeah, 2014, something like that. So it was forever.
I think that's called tenacity, right?
It was, and it was a good market to be in. Because, we got exposure to, thousands of customers. I mean, we literally deployed CRM solutions for over 300,000 salespeople, and really learned a lot of great lessons about CRM, which is basically that it's the most hated software on the planet, but it's still needed for so many companies.
Yeah. And so interestingly enough, that kind of leads to Spiro, right? And so you had this aha that you could reimagine, if you will, CRM, but from the salesperson's point of view or perspective. So share with us after, you've been in the CRM business at that point for, when you started Spiro, were you in CRM for 20 years, 15 years?
Yeah, something like that. But Chris, it really was all about the movies is what caused Spiro. The movies, yes, because you see, so I sold Innovere, and I did well on that deal, and it was a good arrangement. And I'm working for the company Cloud Sherpas that wound up buying us, and they got bought by Accenture, and so I had a little bit more time, so I went to the movies, which is something I probably hadn't done in years anyway. And I saw the movie.
You mean like you went to an actual movie theater and paid a ticket and got some popcorn and sat there?
Yeah, totally. It was great. I recommend at least once a year doing that. And so I saw the movie Her because I had read a lot about it. And Her, so with Scarlett Johansson plays the artificially intelligent operating system that Joaquin Phoenix downloads on his phone. And so
I got to see this movie. Joaquin Phoenix and who's the gal?
Scarlett Johansson. She's not in the movie though, Chris. But
no, she's a computer.
Only her voice. So anyway, it's kind of Spike Jonze directs it. He did Being John Malkovich. He's a really cool director guy. Yeah. And so Joaquin Phoenix on his phone, he's got this new assistant that basically reads his email, tells him what to do, gives him advice. And I'm watching this movie and I'm like, this is what every salesperson needs. Scarlett Johansson telling them what to do. And we were like, wow, halfway through the movie, I left. Because I'm like, okay, I know what I want to do next. I want to build a personal assistant for salespeople that can just guide them through their day and tell them what to do. Because salespeople, we're so excited. We're like, oh, butterfly. And then for 15 minutes, we're doing something else.
Yeah, no, I get interrupted by a lot of zebras during the day myself, as Colin can tell you. But so this is fascinating. Let's unpack this for a second, because in our book, Play Bigger, we talk a lot about this, that entrepreneurs have an aha moment, and that aha moment leads to an insight. And that insight, and we got this from our friend Anne Miracu, the legendary venture capitalist at Floodgate. She said that at Floodgate, they think of the insight as being either a technical insight. We can do something cool with new technology that may or may not have a business application, but we see there's something cool there. Or what Anne calls a market insight, right? That there's something missing in the market. So you're sitting there in the middle of the movie and you have what Anne would call a market insight in the middle of the movie.
That's very very left brain thinking. For me, it was just an epiphany. It was like it took me over. It made quit my job. It wasn't like it's some insight. It was like a movement. Exactly. So so it seized me, the idea. I don't know how else to put it. It wasn't like I didn't feel that way about middleware. Middleware was like an insight. It was like, oh, PC, mainframe.
Connect
there, yeah.
But this became an obsession for you, right? Which ultimately leads to Spiro. Exactly. So you guys have reimagined selling in the new mobile digital world, and I think a lot of people, myself included, would have said, "Hey, listen, Salesforce automation." I got into this almost 30 years ago at a company called Always an Adventure. I was a Salesforce automation consultant. So I've been around this a long time as well. And you'd think, well, a space like this that's been around, how's it possible to come up with something new that would make a difference? So as you go from the movie with Scarlett to okay, and now I want to start a company, how do you find a new insight that really you think is going to lead to a reimagining CRM and Salesforce automation?
Well, you know what they say about the most important thing in comedy, right? And so it's the same thing, I think, in starting a business. Exactly. And but so the timing was perfect, right? So what had happened since in the past 10 years, 5 years, 3 years is mobile exploded. So everybody needs mobile, is always out traveling around, needs that. All this great artificial intelligence and NLP technology, machine learning is suddenly available. People have been using CRM for so long that there's literally more data in a typical CRM system than there is in the Library of Congress. And so when you put all of these things together, we can use the AI, the machine learning, and the NLP to look at all of that data that's in email and CRM and whatnot, combined with the mobile form factor to make it all happen now. And honestly, I don't think you could have done this 3 years ago or 3 years before we started. It just wasn't there.
So there's something about machine learning, big data, mobile, all these technologies sort of coming together, and you see those things kind of swirling in a way that you could create this intelligent assistant, this Scarlett Johansson for salespeople.
Yeah, well, let's think about a typical salesperson for a second. They're really busy. They're doing a million things, and then they've got an hour to do all their follow-ups with all the deals that they're actively working on, right? So typical salesperson, they're going to go, okay, let me open up my laptop. I'm going to log into Salesforce. I'm going to pull up a list of all of my deals. I'm going to figure out which ones I should do. Time's up. Okay, I got to go do it. Like, you've lost it. You're not doing the things that you should be doing because you're just fucking getting yourself organized. So now imagine if Scarlett Johansson was reading through all that shit for you so that she just gave you a list of call this guy, email that lady, and so on, so you didn't have to think about it at all. So that was sort of the very kernel of it. And plus, we're delivering it to you on your mobile phone. So even if you're just sitting in the parking lot of your next sales call, you'll have all of that information so you can just go boom.
Boom. So Adam, you put this vision in the market with version 1, and then what happens?
So we launched the product November of 2015, so a little over a year ago from today.
Yep.
And we had beta tested it with about 500 salespeople in the wild, and every time Spiro recommended that a salesperson do something, at the time we had them rate it. Like Uber, you used to rate Uber driver. So you would rate Spiro every time. Once the recommendations were like 4.5, we were like, okay, well, we're going to go see what people think of this thing. And so we launched it in November of 15, and we grew it, pretty quickly, I would say. In a year, we got over 15,000 salespeople using it. For those of you who are big data fans, it's definitely enough data to draw correlations and get all the machine learning stuff working for positive correlations in sales and so on. And so that was the beginning of our journey with the Spiro product.
Adam, I'm curious what you did in terms of attracting early users while you were in beta. Did you queue up the release audience before you finished beta so you had a larger audience to release to?
Not really. We just kind of learned along the way as we went. And so, my background's in sales. I was been a sales guy, sales leader, doing sales related stuff, even sales consulting. And so the marketing thing is really new for me. And so we just tried a lot of stuff. So we, the very first version of our website, just because we were not great at stuff like that, it was just basically a white page, and all it said was, if you want to make more money, sign up here. And that page converted like a motherfucker. I want to say it was like a 5% conversion on that. And so then we were like, all right, I think we're kind of on to something.
And you're, I think, with all due modesty, I helped at least a smidgen. You did some great category design and evangelizing what this thing was. And then you did some really great point of view, brand attitude kind of stuff. So just tell us, what was the category in the beginning, and tell people a little bit about sort of the brand point of view and attitude that you developed.
Yeah. So I think we actually designed that website in your kitchen, Chris.
Yeah, I think we did.
Think about it. So we landed on personal sales assistant as the category that we wanted to focus on. And we wanted it to be personal because we wanted it to be something for the sales rep and not like for the management, like all the other crappy solutions that are out there. And it was a sales assistant because it was really there to help the salesperson achieve their goal, which in 99 out of 100 times is making more money. So that's what we did. And, the sales technology marketplace is large, but it's also very, very noisy. And we felt to stand out from the crowd, we had to be the noisiest guys possible. And that's, obviously why we wanted to work with Chris, because nobody's better than Chris.
This is true.
So, we came up with a whole strategy of just being, somewhat controversial. So, we would run an ad and a Twitter campaign supported with it that would say stuff like, oh, hot girls don't date poor sales guys, get Spiro.
That's great.
We eventually toned it down to be like, bad salespeople drive shitty cars. Use Spiro. And we publish, we probably have a very large focus on blogging. And so we publish, 2 to 3 blog posts a week, on topics like 10 reasons everybody should date a salesperson. Or, like my other favorite, salespeople, do you have your shit together? That was this week's post, it was a BuzzFeed style quiz of all the things that you might do that, so just with like this crazy content, it's not like, we do publish things like 3 ways to, close the deal and stuff like that. But it's really more like lifestyle. We want to be like seen as like a lifestyle brand for salespeople. And so that's where we're really focused. So the Spiro Instagram is all funny memes about sales. A lot of the blog posts, I would say the ratio of Leonardo DiCaprio pictures to blog posts is probably like 1 to 5, because Leo is the patron saint of salespeople, because they all really want to be him in The Wolf of Wall Street. Drawing exactly the wrong inference out of that movie, they all are like, Coke and hookers. That's what I want. It's like, no, that's not the message of the movie, but they don't care. So we run blog posts about, motivational sales, speeches and movies, and, people go crazy for that, Colin. And so we took initially we took a very aggressive stance on Twitter, and we decided that we were going to tweet every 45 minutes. And, Twitter.
Incredible.
Yeah, I know, right? That's crazy, right? Nobody does shit like that. But we're like, fuck it. Nobody's really looking at these tweets anyway. So we're just going to tweet a lot. And so
how did what did you use to tweet every 45 minutes? Was this some admin you had set up just with a queue of tweets, or what were you doing there?
No. So we used a tool. So our WordPress our website runs on WordPress, and there's a plugin for WordPress that's called Tweet Old Post, which is really designed to take your old posts and resurface them onto your Twitter feed. But we realized that you could just set it to just fucking tweet the shit out of everything. And that's what we did. So our posts just go. And, Twitter, in my view, it's kind of like a party at a stadium where the music is so loud you can't hear anybody and everybody's just shouting, and that doesn't really matter. So, yeah, a couple people were pissed off that we were tweeting a lot, but like it just grew the list because people saw the stuff, and you don't get noticed unless you're tweeting a lot. So we did that. We used this tool called Happy Cyborg.
I recall that's the one you shared with me last year, which is incredible. Let's watch. Tell us a little bit more about that, because it's an awesome tool.
Yeah, so you just Google Happy Cyborg, and I'm talking cyborg, kind of like the Battlestar Galactica cyborg. It's a totally free tool. It's run by this great guy, John, who lives down in Texas. He's got his own company. This is like a side project. It helps if you know Unix regular expressions to be able to use it, because it's a little complicated.
Something I've spent a lot of time on over the years.
But basically, what we had the Happy Cyborg do is, if you tweeted about sales, we followed you. And if you didn't follow us back, fuck you, we unfollowed you. And we did that, and that built us to 30,000 Twitter followers.
That's brilliant.
So that was like, whoa. So in the initial, maybe first year of our growth, I think Twitter was 1/3 of our traffic to the website or something like that.
Wow.
And it was really the combination of that with the blogging, right? It's just, if you will, a thought leadership, POV kind of a strategy.
Exactly. And so then we started getting more involved in, capturing emails for signups and, different offers, and, on the website, it's your 3rd visit, we're going to say this to you, and your 2nd visit, we're going to give you this white paper, and all of these different opt-ins and everything that we started doing. And then, over time, what happened with the blog is, so we write a blog that's like 5 texts you should be sending your prospects right now. And then there's be a link that says download these texts in an easy to copy format so you can send it. And we put that kind of stuff into the blog. But you have to give us your email address if you want the thing. And so we go from like 30 email signups a day to 170 or something with crap like that.
Amazing.
Just for offering free fun content.
Yeah, totally.
And everything you've done pretty much has had an attitude to it.
Everything is just like an attitude. Yeah. We don't hold back, and there's certain parts of the country, I'm not going to mention certain states like that are more religious. We don't do well in, but That's fine. You can't be for everybody. And even in our app, Chris, as you know, we have.
This is maybe from a product point of view. I love the AI and all the cool shit that you do and tell people what to do today and who to call next and all that's awesome. But what you're about to tell our legendary listeners and viewers is actually my favorite part of the product.
Yeah, and again, it was I believe it was suggested by you initially, but
well, then I actually don't remember that. But if it was suggested by me, I really agree with myself about that.
I don't remember exactly, but the Scarlett Johansson in the movie is like a real person. It's not just like some robot that pops up a thing that says, "Don't forget to call Colin." And that would be really, really boring. And one of the things we know about salespeople is that they kind of are ADD to the max kind of people. So we really needed a way to get them to pay attention to this stuff.
Look out, I think I see a zebra.
Or a waffle.
So we hired a comedy writer. And we built 7 different personalities that are in Spiro. And so
hold on. I think it's important for people to get this. You hired a comedy writer to do what in your product?
Every time, so when a user logs into Spiro for the first time, and they have to select the personality of Spiro. How do you want Spiro to communicate with you? You can choose R-rated, Jewish mother, Fabio, OMG, which is like a Kardashian kind of voice. We have drunk Santa during the holidays. And
I love drunk Santa.
Instead of saying, call Colin, it says, pick up the phone, prick, and call Colin. The Jewish mother persona says, don't call him. See if I care. It's just like a passive aggressive.
And what does the Kardashian persona say?
It kind of speaks a language that I'm not super familiar with. He says things like, "Oh my God, like he's your fave." I'm doing a terrible job with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the comedy writer was our 4th hire. Like that's where it ranks in the hierarchy. And so today we have over 5,000 jokes in the app. And the engagement strategy is to say funny things to you, to give you a reminder that's funny so that you actually pay attention to it. Because in today's world of alerts and this and that, you need something to cut through the clutter. And I'd say that salespeople in particular are in need of humor. Because even the best salespeople are getting rejected, 2 out of 3 times every day. That's a hard job. No wonder why Chris doesn't have any hair. So that
came out early. Selling was my first real job after my first company failed. I got a sales job, and that was the end of my hair.
Exactly. So salespeople need some humor in their life, and we want it to be personal for them. And so that's why we have that. So it's interesting, Chris, now that we're pitching it to big companies, sometimes they're like, can we disable the R-rated functionality? Like, all right, well, that's what you want to do, but,
Well, and actually, as fun as all this is, you bring up a very interesting point, which is one of the reasons that a lot of entrepreneurs, innovators, marketers don't do things that are, and I'm going to use this word very much on purpose, different and provocative, is they're afraid of a backlash. And they sort of end up being like pablum and just sort of fitting in with the fucking crowd because of that. But you took no shit, real risk with declaring the category, but even more so with having this provocative point of view and these personas and outrageous blogging. And it really, a lot of it is over the top. A lot of it is very, very funny. But you knew you were going to piss people off. How did that sort of trade off with, we want to do these fun things to get attention, to build our company and have a good time, but at the same time knowing full well there are a lot of people who are, or at least some percentage of people are going to be turned off?
Well, we really didn't care about the people who were going to be turned off. And, I remember at the time, and this is going to sound a little controversial, but, Donald Trump is a character who decided to go after a certain market, by seizing on a fervor excitement of a small group, right?
Yes.
And in some ways,
with a provocative point of view.
And I'm no judgment on the man or anything like that, but he succeeded by taking that path to success. And, myself and my founders, you got a picture, we're in a rowboat, right? And we're in the Atlantic Ocean. And fucking Salesforce is a battleship, and I'm not concerned if we're pissing off the fish. There's a fucking battleship over there.
That's great. I'm not concerned if I'm pissing off the fish.
Right? Like
that's fantastic.
That's fine.
And so what's next for you, Adam? What's next for Spiro?
Well, so we've made the leap to charging our customers, which is always a big step in the gestation of a company. And so we're charging people. And
how's that going?
Well, because we had a lot of free, like 10,000 free users on the app. And one day we were like, okay, buddy, gigs up.
Just kidding. Need an honor.
So, some of them, were a little displeased with us, but, whatever. So we've been charging, we've been growing like gangbusters. We've elevated the product so that we not only have the personal edition, but we've got the team edition so that managers can get in on the fund and help work with their teams. And we've built a full-blown CRM underneath Spiro so that, we're using AI to do all the data collection for them so they don't have to type anything into CRM to get, these recommendations about who to call and email. And so, revenue growth has been great and customer support has been great. So we really need to raise some more money because I'm doing literally 15 sales calls a week. Each one of my partners is as well. And it's just crazy.
Well, and actually that does bring up an interesting side point because you've gone from entrepreneur to senior executive with a giant team. And a lot of the disses, if you will, on, I'll call you a more experienced entrepreneur. How about that, Adam? Is that, well, a guy like you who's had all this success, has made this money, been a senior executive, will you really roll up your sleeves and do work?
Holy shit. If I'm not doing it, I don't know how it's going to get done. I was just before this meeting, I was fixing the fucking HTML on one of the pop-ups that we had because my marketing.
So whether it's the carboningulation of Happy Cyborg or closing the sales of the HTML.
Right. Meeting with a very wealthy individual this morning who's already invested money in the business and wants to invest more, whatever it takes. Usually what I try to do is I try to work on all of the really tactical marketing stuff, like all the growth hacking stuff, Colin. I get up pretty early. I usually get up about 5:30. And so I do that until 9 a.m. And then because you could spend your whole day all this little marketing crap that you're trying to do.
Of course.
So I try to cap that out about 9 a.m. And then I just focus on, sales and investors and, really the strategy of the business. So I try to keep it very segmented in my mind.
So I'm curious, in terms of your conversion from free to paid, was there an expectation that you set with the free users early on that, hey, this is free for now, but just be prepared one day we're going to charge you? Or did you just come out of the blue and hit them?
We just came out of the blue and hit them.
Would you do that again? Do you think that was the right way to approach it? I'm curious because I know that for a lot of founders, starting free is the way to go with this idea that they're going to hit like a freemium angle. And I'm wondering, what was your plan early on? Did you always plan to convert? And what were your thoughts around that communication?
I want to just tell you a little story that relates directly to my experience with this. So back in the OEC days, Caterpillar was a customer of ours, right? The guys who sell the tractors and everything like that. And they bought millions of dollars worth of our software when it was really bad. And it was really bad. And I had to go fly to Peoria to go meet with them because they were really unhappy. And so, to get from Boston to Peoria, you have to go through Chicago. It's a pain in the ass. We land, it's 11 a.m. Central Time. I've been up since 4 flying out there. And they don't even give us lunch because they hate us so much. And they yell at us and are unhappy with us for 2 hours. And then they're finally okay, we can get some lunch. Or we go have some lunch. And they're I think we're going to need another 20 licenses. And so the takeaway for me, is I would rather have people pissed than not care, and so you downloaded Spiro and I told you it was going to be free forever. And I'm telling you now, you're going to have to pay for it and you're really pissed off. Okay, let's work something out. Fine. But I'm not anybody who's in the middle. I don't care. So, whatever. It's, there's 16 million people, 16 million salespeople, in the US. Okay, maybe I'm going to piss off 10,000, the maximum worst case scenario. Let's keep an eye on the big picture here, guys. The big picture is we got a business to build and we got to show growth and all the right metrics and whatever. So, people treat this stuff too precious. You need to get out there and try things and make it work. As far as I'm concerned, because I'm just not smart enough to be able to think, 3 years from now, this is the way it's going to be.
Right.
And one of our favorite expressions is that success is about failing in the right direction. That's why we want to call this Legends and Losers.
Totally. And, we do things that are wrong all the time. Chris, I don't know if I even told you this. I sent out 800 emails by mistake the other day with the subject heading, "You don't have your shit together." Just like random people. Because I fucking did the wrong mail merge thing. I got this text from this guy. The guy texts me. He's like, "What the fuck is this email you just sent me? How do you know I don't have my shit together?"
Have you been watching me? Is my webcam on? Have you been talking to my wife? Fuck. Or my mother? Yeah. Whatever, man.
Whoops.
I mean, thankfully, nobody is using Spiro to run a nuclear submarine. That's what I want to say. You know what I mean? It's like we're talking most of this technology that's out there today, unless it's going in embedded systems or in airplanes or stuff like that, you just got to try shit and see what happens and move it around. And if everybody gets really upset, you can change it back. Come on. Look at how many companies look at Facebook. How often has Facebook done stuff like that? Whatever.
It's interesting, Colin, if you remember on the show with Dushka, we talked about this theme of getting in the game, right? That the path from legend to loser just starts with getting in the game. There's no such thing as a legendary individual or company that gets created by somebody sitting on the couch and just drinking beer, right? As fun as that is, right? And so what I love about what you're saying, Adam, is you guys are a living, breathing, in the game experiment, and when you fuck shit up, you don't care. You clean the mess up, and you keep on going. It's just incredible.
Thank you. I mean, most days it feels pretty good.
Well, you have a great sense of humor about it, of course, as people can clearly hear.
Well, Chris, that sort of reminds me of something we were talking about the other day, which was courage.
Yeah.
And it takes, fear is a big showstopper for a lot of entrepreneurs or a lot of people from becoming an entrepreneur. And courage was something we discussed the other day, and I think that's very applicable.
Yeah, the point we made the other day, Adam, was that courage is the ability to manufacture action out of fear. And one of the things we hear a lot from entrepreneurs and innovators of all sorts is a thing that stops them is fear. And so you seem so lighthearted about this, and you've had big failures and big wins, and you've had failures and wins along the way at Spiro, and Spiro's, of course, doing great now. So help us with sort of how you're so lighthearted about stuff that, in some cases is paralyzing for some people.
Well, I think part of it goes back to my failures, frankly. Right back to what we were talking about at the beginning. I mean, I, at 30 was expecting to, be Chris Lochhead up in Santa Cruz surfing every day and, not worrying about the world. And, and it didn't turn out that way for me. And, both of my parents died pretty young, so I've gone through some, challenges in my life, like many people have. And I think the result of that for me is that I feel like people get fucking pissed off because I sent them an email. Oh, come on. I'm not going to get twisted up about that. Whatever. I'm going to tell some guy he's got to pay $18 a month for my product, and he's not happy about it. Oh, come on, man. Whatever. That's not a problem. That's something else. That doesn't even register on my scale. So that's why, for me, listen. We take customer stuff seriously, and we put our heart in it. When you put your heart in it, it really makes it, precious to you,
Yes, yes, I do know.
That's an inhibitor, but you gotta keep the perspective on it. That this is not, nobody's going to jail over this stuff. My wife, as you know, is a criminal defense attorney. She works to keep the wrongly accused out of prison. And for anybody who spent time in prison, it's really a horrible situation. And those people have real problems. These are not problems that we're talking about here. That's my point of view.
Yeah, one of the things I always like to say to startup entrepreneurs is, if this thing doesn't fail, how many people here are going to miss a meal?
Right. Exactly.
And the other one, even more so than that, is, hey, guess what? This morning when you woke up, were you in Aleppo? Fucking A, we won. Because a lot of people woke up there this morning, right?
Exactly.
Sometimes we forget living where we live and having the opportunities that we have that one person's crisis is not so much of a crisis.
But I think if working my career in sales has taught me anything, it's that you need to visualize the goal that you want to achieve, and you want to build a company, you need to say, this is what I want to do. And you just push to it. You don't let the stuff get in your way. That's if you do.
So do you actually visualize it in your mind? Do you do those kind of exercises?
I do. I mean, people say, what's your ambition for Spiro? And I say, listen, I want to have the Spiro Tower here in Boston. That's what I want. That's the success level that I'm looking for from this thing. I'm not just like fucking around with this shit. Let's go do that. Let's make this happen. Let's change the way salespeople are selling, like you said. Like, why not? What the hell? Yes. So we talk about that.
Yeah. And if not you, who else? And do you find, does it increase your fear or your risk of failure in your mind when you just said that on this podcast that has at least what, Colin, 2.5, maybe 3 million listeners right now? I mean, you're just putting that shit out.
I see the counter going up every minute. Yeah, no, I mean, whatever, not at all, Chris. I mean, I think you need to, you want to do something great, you got to put your heart in it. And if you put your heart in it, you can't let your head get in the way. That's just what it's about for me, And
even if you fail on a very big stage, I mean, look, I know that you have top tier investors, certainly, I don't want to say begging, but highly interested in the company. You've done an amazing job getting it this far with some friends and funny money. Yeah. Maybe that's what we should call it from now on. It's not a friends and family round. It's a friends and funny. Maybe we just invented a new category. But it is a very different attitude that you have, Adam. What advice would you have for other innovators and entrepreneurs, other wannabe legends who are of the 2.5 to 3 million listening to us right now? What advice would you have for them?
I mean, I think the biggest thing is just to try, and test. And if stuff isn't working, fix it. Like that's every day what we're doing, we had that feature where you rated the how good Spiro was. And I really thought that was going to be like a great feature that will like reinforce the psychology, within the app, and everybody hated it. So we're like, okay, fuck it. We're taking it out. We're taking out the pictures coming up soon, Chris, because the feedback, so I know, with the feedback from the user community. So right now, when you make a call or you send an email to Spiro, it shows you a fun picture, a motivational picture of something that you might like a Victoria's Secrets model or a dude surfing or something like that. And the feedback is, we'd rather just see the next person that we need to call right away so we can make the sale happen. It's like, oh, okay, well, if that's what everyone wants to do, so you got to be kind of relentless about looking where you want it to go, but with the other ear kind of taking it in. And being
interesting.
I have a question about that, Adam. How do you get your user feedback? What do you use? Because you have 10,000 users providing you with feedback potentially. What do you use as a tool for gathering that information and categorizing it all?
Yeah, so we've been using Qualtrics for some surveying techniques. So to reach out to people and get their specific feedback on specific items. We usually offer people an Amazon gift card to enter an Amazon gift card drawing to get their attention on stuff like that because people don't just naturally want to do it. We have in-app pop-ups that come up. We use Mixpanel in the app to look at the way that people are using the app. And we actually do a lot of analysis on the usage patterns to make these kind of judgments. And, listen, I'm speaking to a lot of users every week. I mean, it's probably a couple hours a day talking to users. So that's not analytic, but it's really helpful that way.
You mentioned Mixpanel. I'm curious if you've used any of the Mixpanel surveys.
In the app, I think we have, yes.
I found those to be incredibly powerful.
Yeah, I don't know if I've seen that different than the Qualtrics stuff in terms of the level of feedback that we've gotten, but it's all part of the mix because you have to hit people wherever they are.
Great. Love it.
All right. Well, Adam, is there anything else that you would like to share with our legendary friends before we wrap up?
There, Chris, there is one other thing.
What's that?
And I just want to say that if there are sales leaders or salespeople who are on the podcast still, who haven't dropped off at this point, I would definitely advise you to take a look at spirohq.com, which is our website.
You tell them, Adam.
It's HQ for headquarters. And if you are looking for a way to speak to more prospects during the week and generate more proposals and quotes and close more deals, you know who to call. And you can start a free trial. There's absolutely no obligation. And we will send you a lot of emails telling you don't have your shit together, of course, after you do that.
Some on purpose and some not so much.
But I think you'll really enjoy the product.
And I think for anybody in sales, what you just witnessed is a living, breathing example of ABC. Always be closing. All right, Adam, how about with that? We'll wrap it up. And thank you so much for being on Legends and Losers. You're a legendary guy. You have meant so much to me for, wow, I don't even want to admit how many years, about 25 years or maybe even a little more than that. And it's great to be involved with you and Spiro. And it is awesome for Colin and I to have you here as the first entrepreneur on Legends and Losers.
Right on. Well, thank you, Chris. It's, always a pleasure. And Colin as well. And I'm looking forward to seeing the rest of the podcast, see what else develops.
Cheers, Adam.
We're trying really hard not to be losers. Thanks, Adam. Be legendary.
All right, guys. See you later.
All right. Well, thanks again, Adam Honig of Spiro, for being on Legends and Losers. And most importantly, thank you all for checking us out. Please subscribe on iTunes, give us a legendary review, and tell all your friends. Where can they find us, Colin?
You can find us on Facebook. We have an awesome group there called Legends and Losers Podcast, facebook.com/groups/Legends and Losers. Or you can email us at blackhole@legendsandlosers.com.
You can find us on Twitter @Legends and Losers. And all rights are disturbed. This information today is provided to you solely for informational purposes, and this oddcast is the sole property of Legends and Losers. We would like to thank Spiro, the application for salespeople who want to make more money.
Equity Directory, the invite-only network of entrepreneurs and startup talent exchanging work for equity.
HarperCollins Instant Classic, Play Bigger, How Pirates, Dreamers, and Innovators Create and Dominate Markets.
Peggy Burke and 1185 Design.
Thanks, Peggy. We love you. Paradigm Sport in Santa Cruz, California. Train like it matters.
Marshall Amplifiers.
And Jack Daniels, helping ugly people fornicate for decades. Do not pour hot coffee on your crotch. And hey, sorry, Greg Clark at Symantec, we ran out of time for you again today. That's it, people. Be legendary.